Okay, we're live now, I believe.
Hi, I'm Carolyn Bourdeaux, and I am running for Georgia's 7th Congressional District. And welcome if you all are joining us on Facebook Live. This is a video podcast town hall and is one of the many things we are doing to try to reach out to people more in this kind of unprecedented time that we are in. So today, this is our inaugural launch of this, and I am joined by Wes Person, who is running for district attorney here in Gwinnett, and Kibo Taylor, who is running for sheriff. And I'm very pleased to have them. So what we're going to do today is we're going to start off. I also actually need to introduce Kyla Miller, who is on my campaign and is a recent star student graduate from the University of Georgia. And so we're pleased to have her, and she's bringing her young person expertise to helping us do all this in the sort of new digital age that we are in. So what we're going to do today is we're going to start off and we're going to talk a little bit about the campaign and who we are, just to introduce ourselves. And then we're going to talk a little bit about how things have changed for our campaigns as we sort of confront the pandemic and, we sort of think about how we're doing this in sort of this new environment we're in. And we want to talk a little bit also sort of in that context about the absentee ballot voting, which we are all kind of working towards. Okay, so with that, I will just start off briefly. I'm Carolyn Bourdeaux. Thank you guys for joining us. I got into this race back in 2017. I was really running, very much on the healthcare issues. Everybody needs affordable quality healthcare. That was very, very important. Also, was very concerned about the agenda of the president, Donald Trump, and sort of where he was taking the country. Got together with a bunch of friends. We closed a 20 percentage point gap. I came within 433 votes of winning the seat. We had to litigate for weeks because of all the voting problems that happened here in Georgia. And now I am back in the race here in 2020. And, with the help of a lot of good friends, we are coming back to finish the job. Of course, healthcare now is once again really front and center in everything we're talking about. And it is even more important now as we confront this national emergency. So that's a bit about who I am. I live in Swanee with my husband and 8-year-old son, and my day job is I teach at the Andrew Young School of Policy Studies, and really have spent my entire life in various public service roles, including as a teacher, but also I worked as a congressional aide in Congress and to U.S. senators. I was director of Georgia's Senate Budget and Evaluation Office and founder of the Center for State and Local Finance. So have been in public service and public service roles for most of my life. With that, though, I will stop, and I'm going to turn it now to Wes Person, a great friend of mine, somebody who I campaigned with last time, and he is doing something very, very important, which is running for the district attorney role here in Gwinnett. And want to turn it over for him for a chance to introduce himself to you.
Thank you, Carol. Want to say hello to everyone out there. Hope you're staying safe during this shelter in place. Hope you're getting to spend good quality time with your family, and that you're, just staying indoors, because as we can see from some of the evidence that this is having an effect, it is flattening the curve. We are, doing what we need to be doing, and I want to encourage everyone to continue to do that. Like Carolyn said, I am running for Gwinnett County District Attorney. I am a criminal defense attorney. I've been practicing some form of criminal law for the last almost 15, 16 years since I've been a lawyer. I'm running for the Democratic nomination for district attorney here in Gwinnett County. And my platform is on criminal justice reform. And hopefully we'll have a little more time to discuss what I mean by that reform. But I'm happy to be here to talk with Carolyn and my good friend, Mr. Kibo Taylor, about how this campaign has changed. But fundamentally, the issues are still the same. It's just the way in which we're now having to be able to put our message forth to you during this period. So thank you so much, Carolyn, for inviting me. And I'm going to now let my good friend, Mr. Kibo Taylor, talk with y'all.
All right, Kibo.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Again, Carolyn, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to come on and share and just to be a part of what you're doing. I'm very thankful for that. I did get to know Carolyn on her last run and was very supportive of her. I'm very supportive of her again this run. I felt like she was the right person for the job the last time, and she's definitely the right person for the job this time. And we're going to do all that we can to make sure that from our standpoint, to give her all of the support that she needs to win this race this time. As she said, my name is Kibo Taylor, and I am running for Sheriff of Gwinnett County. I'm a lifelong resident of Gwinnett County. I was born and raised here in Lawrenceville. Spent 26 years with the Gwinnett County Police Department. When I retired at that time as the highest ranking African American in the history of that department. Had some real good police experiences. I've got to work on federal task forces, got to command task forces, and just had what I would feel like is a blessed career. The reason why I got into this race is that at some point in time after I had actually retired from the police department, some of the things that I was seeing and hearing was not what I recognized as what law enforcement should be doing. And I felt like that there was a fundamental shift in what I was seeing and taken away from what, in the direction of law enforcement that was going. And in my opinion, at that time, it did not have the best interests of the community in mind. And I saw a separation, I saw a divide there, and I felt like, and I spoke out on it a little bit, but I felt like the best way to make sure that we do have a solid partnership out here with the citizens of Gwinnett County and other stakeholders out here is that I needed to get into the race. So here I am. It has been, we have seen some changes from where we started. This is my first time running, so everything has been new to me and everything has been an adjustment for me. But dealing with this virus has been a fundamental shift. Not the first time for me seeing a fundamental shift in what we're doing. I started my police career back in the early 80s, and at that time we were dealing with the AIDS virus and HIV. So we had to make some adjustments into what we were doing and how we move forward on it, and I see some of the same things today. But that is me. That is pretty well much me in a nutshell, and I'm gonna turn it back over to Carolyn, please.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much, Kibo. And I just, I appreciate you running for sheriff. And, one of the reasons, one of the many reasons I'm, just really supportive of Wes and Kibo is, as I've been campaigning, you hear so much about, criminal justice issues in the community. Not only, are people in the Black community often feeling like, they are not getting a fair shake from the police. They are concerned about, police violence against them. They don't, concerned they're not feeling protected by the police, instead, threatened by them. The same thing in our immigrant communities where we have the 287G waiver issue and where our sheriff's department acts as a direct extension of ICE. And what that means is, many of our immigrant communities also feel threatened by law enforcement. So both of these are great folks, great candidates, great people who I knew in my last race and appreciated their support. And I'm so glad that they are running now to really try to make an important difference in this community. So with that, we wanted to talk a little bit about sort of the impact of coronavirus, sort of what we're trying to do to respond to that, and then open the floor to questions. You can post them up on the Facebook Live feed below, and our staff will funnel those to us. And so we look forward to any questions you may have. And if you're just joining us, welcome. We're glad to have you here. I'm going to start out just really briefly. My big push here as we deal with the coronavirus crisis is really making sure that everybody votes by mail. And we're coming up on that May 19th primary. And so everybody, we've been calling for vote by mail for a while, and our Secretary of State, the Georgia Secretary of State, has now sent out an absentee ballot application to every single active registered voter in the state. So everybody should have gotten one of these envelopes in the mail. It is very simple to fill out. All you have to do is check the ballot you want, whether you want Republican, Democratic, or independent. Hopefully most of you guys watching this are checking a Democratic ballot. Sign your name, and we would appreciate your support when you get your ballot. And sign your name, and put a stamp on it and send it in. Or you can just take a picture of it and email it to the Board of Elections in Gwinnett or Forsyth. So you don't even have to put a stamp on it if you don't have a stamp. And if you're like me, I don't even know the last time I sent out a letter from myself personally. And so I'm not sure where I'd find a stamp in my house, but you can just take a picture of it with your phone and email it in. So we really, really want people to vote by mail. It's going to be easier and it's going to be safer. I don't think anybody on May 19th wants to be in a polling location really where we have to, queue up and potentially risk our health to vote. Obviously, if we get to that point, and you haven't voted, please vote, right? It's so important for our democracy. But if you can early, please vote early and vote by mail. So with that, though, that has been the big thing we are pushing, but I'm sure there's a lot of other great stuff going on. I'll start with Kibo this time. Do you want to tell us a little bit about sort of what you guys are doing to respond to this crisis?
Well, as I said before, for me, this has been my first time. So it has been, a lot of shifting, a lot of changing with what we're looking at and where we started from. So, when it's your first time, you don't really know what you're doing. And we get into this part, it's just part of it for me. But I had, when I first started and I laid the foundations for what we were trying to get done here, I started out with the churches. So basically what I'm doing now is I'm just trying to follow through and pay attention to what's going on with them right now, because they still have the ears of their congregation. So I am trying to model a little bit more about what we do is based upon what they're doing. And a lot of Zoom, a lot of virtually, still trying to reach out and still trying to keep those connects going. And not just so much asking, them from their support, but also trying to help them develop and look to see what we can do from our standpoint too. Once we get finished, and I say we get finished, this is going to be, the landscape is going to look totally different. So a lot of things that we had envisioned from the beginning before this virus actually hit will look totally different. And we're going to have to make some adjustments on what that looks like and what those partnerships look like moving forward. But like I said, this is my first time, so being flexible is not a problem.
Okay, thank you. And I think that's an important point, that, connecting to the community and finding ways that we can use the campaign to be helpful for folks as they hit this time of crisis. And I know that, some churches have food banks and have other really important resources for folks as they're trying to get through this. And so I think, that's a very important point to make. Are there ways that our campaigns can be helpful to the community? So that's great. All right, Wes.
Well, what I've done is basically turn my campaign into a resource center. I've been trying to present information to the community about this virus, about certain, aspects of it, reaching out to experts to lend their expertise to kind of give, some understanding about, the COVID virus and what we need to be doing and why social distancing is so important. We've also provided some education. I had the pleasure of having one of my dear friends, Ms. Thea Lawton Thompson, to talk about meditation and how you can de-stress during this time. We've also had, a couple of experts to talk about the virus and talk about what we need to be doing in terms of social distancing. Dr. Jasmine Clark, who's not only a exceptional microbiologist, but she's also a member of the Georgia legislature. And we've had Ms. Stephanie Hooper, who is a epidemiologist. And we also had Dr. Carla Brown, who is a urgent care doc, and also she's board certified in family medicine and OBGYN. We did a talk where they talked about the virus, his infection rate. They talked about, the vaccine process and things of that nature. So I've been trying to just be a resource to the community to provide some information. Lawyers always try to find witnesses to be able to tell the story because, we don't do anything other than try to present a narrative. So I've been trying to present a narrative to the people on, how we stay safe during this time of crisis and what we can learn. And then we've had a couple of educational programs. We had a So You Want to Be a Lawyer, and we had a couple of lawyers come in and speak on their pathway to becoming a lawyer. We had the distinct pleasure of having Judge Tadia Whitner Jackson, who is the first African-American Superior Court judge in Gwinnett County. She talked about her process of becoming a lawyer and going on to the judgeship. We also had Maui Davis, who's a prominent civil rights lawyer. He is a partner at Davis and Bozeman. He came and spoke. And then we had a couple of other lawyers, Miss Alicia Marie Nair, who works with the Fulton County as a litigator, but she's also been a criminal defense lawyer. So, we changed it to trying to be informative to the people.
Okay, and if people wanted to pick up on this or see it, would they go to your Facebook feed? Would that be the
Yes.
best place to see these? Okay.
Yeah, they're all on the Facebook feed, all the webcast. And this Friday, the ladies and I are going to come together and do a Facebook Live to talk about, the recent developments. I mean, we heard some good news out of New York about, the number of people going into the hospital seems to be leveling off, which is major, major news, thank God. So, and, the ladies will talk about that and, this whole thing about this drug that the president is talking about and some of the things about that. So we'll be putting that out. And if you have questions, just put it on my Facebook page and we'll try to get to that.
Okay. So let me just
questions. Oh, sorry,
okay.
Carolyn.
Yep, Kylie. So, okay, taking questions now. Yes, jump in. Yeah.
Yes, we have a nice sized audience on Facebook right now. So I just want to, first of all, thank everyone for joining us tonight.
Okay.
Yes.
And then secondly, encourage people to leave questions in the comments so we can get those to the candidates right away. Now you can continue on, Carolyn.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So just backing up with some of that. So if you want to, we do have on our webpage, carolynforcongress.com, various resources that you can go to if you need to file for unemployment insurance, if you need to order your ballot, if you're a small business and you need help, we've got links to help you to a lot of those different things. So and that's sort of our general campaign webpage where you can learn more about the campaign too. So it's carolynforcongress.com. Kibo, do you want to give your webpage too so people know where to go and link to resources?
Yes. My website is kiboforsheriff.com, spell out FOR. And you can also find me on Facebook, also at Kibo for Sheriff. And we're in the process of linking up with someone that can provide some services for mental health, mental disabilities, or, that's going to be something that's going to be, staring us in the face here once we come out on the other side of this thing. So we just want to make sure that people understand some of the things that they can do and that there's, there's resources out here for them, such as, the Georgia State has some resources for them. There's some private people out here, that are in that field that could help people out. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good. All right. And Wes, do you want to give your
Yeah, actually-
webpage and Facebook real quick, and then we'll go to questions?
Yep, my Facebook is at Wesley 4DA, sorry. And my website is www.sayyes2towest.com. And we're gonna load up tonight a discussion I had with a bankruptcy lawyer who kind of she gives some great information for people to sort of think about if that is an issue that people may have, dealing with this. I hope not, but we want to provide some resources for people to be able to reach out to if they have some concerns or questions. So that's how you can reach me.
That's great. That's great. Okay.
We have a question.
Okay.
This is from Nancy in Lawrenceville. Her question is, I requested an absentee ballot for the March 24th primary and voted. I'm concerned that if I send a second ballot request per the one just mailed, that the election commission will get confused. What should I do?
Well, they have promised us that they are not going to get confused.
Yeah.
And you have banked your ballot now for the presidential preference primary, which is great. And now if you send in your absentee ballot request, which you should have gotten in the mail,
Yes.
you will now get a ballot for everybody else, but will not include the presidential race. If you have not, yes, turn it right side, yes.
Yeah.
I had my son doing that the other day, and he kept holding it upside down when we were trying to, to shoot the picture. Anyway, and so if you have not voted yet in the presidential preference primary, which I have not, I usually like to vote on election day, but now I'm going to do vote by mail. You will get the full ballot this time with the presidential race as well as all the others. So we should be good to go. And so far, I've been very pleased. They got out the absentee ballot applications pretty quickly.
They
so
did.
That was good.
Yeah, that way to go, Secretary of State.
All right.
So this question would either be for Kibo or Wes. Would a federally mandate of 12-month cooling off period for buying guns help as an effective gun control and also protect people who have been pressured into buying firearms in these financially hard times? You guys need me to repeat that question?
If I understand correctly, they're asking if a 12-month cooling off period would be
I think
Something
An
that-
effective form of gun control?
gun control.
Yeah.
I think, I'm not sure if it would, and I'm going to go ahead and say a district attorney has no real authority on gun control legislation or things like that. That will be something that I think would be more appropriate for Carolyn, because she would have some ability to be able to propose or pass legislation in the Congress that could mandate. I do believe that we do need to have common sense gun control. I'm a firm believer in the Second Amendment, but I believe that there needs to be some regulation. There are too many weapons out here that I don't believe when the framers drafted the Second Amendment that they had that in mind in terms of the arsenal that are out here in private hands. And I think it also, a number of sheriffs and law enforcement sort of feel the same way, that, we can have a Second Amendment and people have a right to gun ownership, but I think it needs to be regulated in a way that provides, some limitations on what people can have. And I'm going to punt it to Kibo now.
Thank you. I agree on the fact that when it comes down to new gun legislations and laws, that is something that really needs to be addressed at the federal level. However, I do believe that there are some things that should actually be addressed also at the local level. Personally, I would like to see some more laws that are enacted at the local level, to whereas if law enforcement went out on a situation and there was guns involved, that they'd have a little bit more discretion to actually take control of the weapons for a short period of time until it's deemed that they're able to get those weapons back. And that could be, the prime example would be a situation where someone is mentally disabled and they're in the situation of crisis, and that they would have access to firearms. I also believe that there are certain types of firearms that the average citizen should not be able to possess. Again, I don't think that when they framed out the Second Amendment that the workings were where you could have a 30-round clip to go hunting. I don't believe that that's what they were looking at. But just to put it in terms to where everybody could understand it is, I would hate for one of my deputies or anybody in law enforcement to go out into a situation and they run across someone with ill intentions and they're more heavily armed than what we are.
Okay, thank you guys. Yeah, hey, Kyla, I'm getting a huge echo. Can you, I think it's on the Facebook. Can you mute that? Thanks. So, obviously the gun issue comes up a lot in my race. And I think we've just seen so many, so many mass shootings and so much grief in this country. And I have an 8-year-old son, and, parents are worrying about their kids going to schools now and whether they're going to get shot up at school. And we've let things get out of control. I grew up with guns. My grandmother used to sit up on her upstairs porch and shoot the squirrels off her bird feeder. That's one of my, did not like squirrels. So I grew up with I had some good target practice with her. Did not hit the bird feeder. But, as Kibo's saying, the thing is, I want to listen really carefully and respectfully to our law enforcement and what they're facing. And, nobody needs to have an assault weapon. Nobody needs to have these sort of high capacity magazines that can just wreak havoc on, a crowded place, a church, a theater, a school. Obviously, we need to have, comprehensive background checks and close the gun show loophole. And then, as Kibo was referencing, right, when there are these kind of dangerous situations, there are both mental illness issues, but also a lot of domestic violence situations. And we need to enable, law enforcement to remove guns from those situations that are particularly tense. I have not looked at a cooling off period legislation, but I'm certainly willing to take a look at that as well and, just get some feedback from the community on that.
And that question was from Richard. And now we have a question from Takesha. This question is actually for Carolyn. Okay. What is your plan to address the healthcare discrepancies and barriers for people of color, specifically African Americans?
Yeah. So, one of the things already we're starting to see with the coronavirus epidemic is that in certain areas, right, it's hitting the African American community much harder than it is other communities. And, it's about, lack of access to resources. It's about the systemic racism that has meant that people in the Black community have not been able to, have the economic advantages and then, be able to get to health insurance. And it is deeply wrong and deeply unfair. Healthcare is a human right. Everybody should have quality, affordable healthcare. And pretty much every other developed country in the world has figured out how to solve this problem. And so, I got into this race, Georgia failed to expand Medicaid, and it just is devastating to me that they did that. And we're about to pay a terrible price in this state because we did that. By failing to expand Medicaid, it means at least, maybe more, 500,000 people in this state don't have health insurance coverage right now. So, I am strongly for pushing towards a solution to make sure we have some form of universal health care coverage. I think the most straightforward path to getting there would be to go back, fix the legislation we have on the books, Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act, and then have a really good, solid, robust public option, which maybe just sort of a version of Medicare that everybody can opt into, individuals and small businesses. So that is available to everybody, and that coverage is available to everybody. And it is just, it is very painful for me to watch the coronavirus, situation here in Georgia, and seeing, I've already talked to multiple people who have family in Albany, many of them African American, and I just, and so many people have died who should not have died, and it's just really, really hard to watch. And yes, disparity is there, and yes, healthcare is on the front lines of dealing with social justice in this country.
And Carolyn, a lot of people don't realize how the lack of healthcare fuels a lot of our criminal justice issues in terms of people coming into the system, because people don't have adequate healthcare. They're not able to get mental health treatment and things of that nature, and that sort of fuels criminal behavior. I mean, a lot of people, we've looked at, the opioid epidemic, and a lot of that was fueled on people trying to deal with pain and their pain addiction, and because they didn't have access to healthcare, they couldn't get good drug treatment and drug rehabilitation. So they continued that criminal behavior. So a lot of our social ills, directly go to the fact that we don't have good healthcare, and people lack it, and they sort of fall into or get into behaviors that, if is properly treated, they wouldn't be involved in that. Prenatal care is a huge thing in the community of color, and that affects the child's development, and they're not able to be able to learn on a level, and therefore they kind of fall out of school. They're not able to get a job.
Yeah.
They get involved in criminal behavior. So that is almost like a real root cause to a lot of problems that's in vulnerable, underserved communities, not just community of color, but also in rural and white communities that lack affordable health care.
Yeah.
If I may say, when you look at the situation in the jail, on average they have between in Gwinnett County, and I'm not certain on this number, but let's just say on average, just between 2,000 and 2,600 people per day that's incarcerated in the jail. You can rest assured that probably about 80 to 85% of the people that are incarcerated has some sort of mental disability, and
trauma, yeah.
or some sort of trauma, and they wind up there as a result of some type of crisis that they may be going through. The jail should not be the place for that. And you're right, healthcare has a lot to do with that. But one thing that we can do is start looking at some other systems to put in place to help direct these people to the proper services that they need instead of jail, okay? If a person is out here and they're in the middle of a crisis and they committed a crime, jail should not be the first stop for them. They should be gotten into, maybe a crisis stabilization unit somewhere, getting themselves stabilized, and maybe we can, and what I want to advocate for is having programs out here that we can direct people to. And if they successfully complete these programs, then they don't go to jail. They don't get that criminal record, because that's just another hindrance. Once that record is on there and they are, stable and they're ready to get back out here and be productive citizens, you got that arrest record on there or conviction on there, and it makes it just that much more difficult. So to me, it's just one big wheel. There's one, I call it, well, I can't say what I call it the crack wheel. But at some point in time, we're going to have to, make some substantial steps to get up off of that wheel and start getting people the help that they need.
Yeah. That's good.
So we have time for one more question. And this question is about mail-in voting. From Kimberly, she says that she has 3 voters in her household, and they all filled out their absentee ballot request. She emailed them all from her email, and she has a scanner on her phone, and she only gotten one confirmation back, which was her own. She's nervous that they are flagged as a voter irregularity. She wants to know, what should she do?
Yeah, I would reach out. I assume this is in Gwinnett County. Reach out to the Gwinnett County Board of Elections immediately and get that addressed. It may be you need to send in each application through a different email address or something like that. They've generally been very helpful. You can also go to the Secretary of State's webpage, check the My Voter page, type in your information, and you can see if they have received the absentee ballot request. They should have a check on there. There may be a little bit of a lag, just because my guess is they're going to be so many people are sending in those absentee ballot requests that it may be a bit overwhelming for them for a few days, but be on top of it. I mean, we just have to protect our voting rights with all we have, and just be on top of it to make sure that we get the ballot request in, everybody in our family gets that request in, we get the ballot back, we vote, we make sure that ballot gets counted, and we just stay on top of our Secretary of State to make sure that happens every step of the way. In my last race, we spent weeks after the election day going down and tracking down thousands of voters who thought their vote had been counted, and it turned out it hadn't. So I am so pleased to hear that the woman asking the question is staying on top of this.
Yep.
You know, please keep on doing that. Wes, did you have something else to?
No, I think you hit it. Nothing else to say. You hit it perfectly.
Yep.
And I just want to let everyone know watching that we're going to be sure to link resources in the comments for all of your questions. We do have a resources page on carolynforcongress.com, and so we'll be linking that in the comments. So if your question didn't get answered, it will be soon.
Okay, yeah, we have both a coronavirus resources page, and we also have a voting page. So if you have questions about all the vote by mail stuff, we have a page on that. Okay, well, thank you all for tuning in. I'm going to wrap up by just letting us all give our webpage address one more time. You can go and find out more about me at carolynforcongress.com. We're coming up to the May 19th primary, and would be honored to have your vote and support, as we go into this election. Thank you for tuning in. Wes?
Again, it's www.sayyes2west.com. I want to thank Carolyn for allowing me to be up here and have an opportunity to talk to the voters. But like she said, I mean, it is, if we don't understand how important it is that we have a government, but not only that we have a government, but we have people up there that know what they're doing, that have the expertise. I don't know when we would ever learn that lesson. So I hope everyone will vote May 19th. And I hope you will vote for each of us in these little blocks here, Carolyn for Congress, because the woman is an expert, budget and policy and things like that. And Kibo Taylor, he's been in the community not only as a law enforcement officer, but he's been there active with our children in terms of being a coach and being a positive role model in the community. So please, 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 May 19th, vote, get your ballot in.
Okay, thank you, Wes. Oh, Kibo.
Wow, how do I even begin to follow that? Okay. One more time, Carolyn, thank you again for this opportunity. It has been such a joy and a pleasure working with you. It's been the same thing with Wes. I've got to know him more this time around. I supported him on his last run, but this time I've got to know him personally. I've spent time with him, and I know that Wes is the person for the job. It's time for us to see some fundamental changes. Here's what we're looking to try to do here in Gwinnett County. And I know Wes will be a pleasure to work with, because we talk about things and we share so many of the same views, and I just know that we could get some things done here. Again, my website is Kibo4, spell out 4, F-O-R, sheriff.com. Of course, I'm on Facebook, also at Kibo for Sheriff. I almost said .com again, but it's not. But we look forward, and we ask for your support. We ask for your vote. We ask for resources right now. We're all out here trying to figure out what we're doing and what this thing looks like. So anything that you could do to support us, we're asking for it as we support each other. Thank you.
Okay, thank you guys for joining me. All right, good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Thanks to everybody else for joining us on Facebook Live. Bye.